Hello, welcome to Spotlight, picking out the best in artistic creativity.
Spotlight, brought to you by the Isle of Man Arts Council.
This evening, we visit the stunning Archibald Knox exhibition which has just opened at the Manx Museum. Hear about an Untold Orchestra celebrating musical icons and catch up with the 7th Manx Youth Bard, Ellie Reynolds. Remember, do get in touch with any creative artistic endeavours you might be involved in, planning, hoping to create, or would really like to put in the spotlight. Poetic, theatrical, musical, literary, ceramic, sculpture, drag, film, digital, calligraphy, of course. You name it, we'll do it. But you do need to get in touch. If we don't know what's going on, we can't feature it. Howard Kane at manxradio.com, C-A-I-N-E, Spotlight at manxradio.com. They both come to the same place, namely yours truly. I read everything and will get back. Not as promptly as I should sometimes, but I will, I promise. And lots of you are getting in contact to tell me what's going on, so I really appreciate that. So it's been years in the planning and organisation, but it is now a reality. What's billed as the largest ever single exhibition of the works of perhaps the island's best-known artist and designer, Archibald Knox, opened at the Manx Museum at the end of last week. Born on the Isle of Man in 1864, Knox, inspired by the island's natural beauty as well as its Celtic and Norse heritage, and all these elements are evident in his designs, which are cherished and sought after worldwide, as popular now, if not more popular than they ever were, and many looking as if they could have been designed yesterday. Perhaps his most famous work carried out for the London store Liberty, but he also designed jewellery and produced watercolours, beautiful paintings, and even designed furniture, which I didn't know until I went along. And I also found out that he taught the grandparents of one or two of my friends art. Knox Order and Beauty offers a rare opportunity to delve into his enduring legacy. It brings together more than 100 pieces from Manx National Heritage's collection and 100 works or so from private lenders and museums across the British Isles. I was delighted to be asked along to the opening, and I spoke to Curator of Art and Social History at MNH, Katie King, and Chris Hobdell from the Archibald Knox Foundation.
We've been working on this project for a little over 2 years at Manx Social Heritage with the Archibald Knox Forum. They've been thinking about it a lot longer than we have, and it's been a long, exciting project to bring together all these pieces from all over the place, all these private lenders and private museums, to gather them all together on the Isle of Man for the first time in what we believe is the world's biggest exhibition celebrating Archibald Knox, his life and work and his legacy. So yeah, we're really excited that everyone's here to enjoy the evening, and it's lovely to get people to see what we've been working on for so long.
And what was the original inspiration? Did it come from you? Was it something that came from a committee? Or?
So it came from the Archibald Knox Forum. So they had an exhibition with us here at the museum in, was it 2018, Chris? Mm-hmm. Yeah, in 2018. And the forum thought it would be important, actually, to put on a far greater, larger exhibition here on the Isle of Man, on the birthplace of Archibald Knox, where his source of all this inspiration, and he lived here most of his life. So they contacted Manx Social Heritage. We've got a scheme called You Exhibit, where anybody can propose an exhibition. Any community group, charity, organisation, individual can propose an exhibition, and we meet every 6 weeks to discuss it. So when this proposal came in, we knew it was a strong idea. We knew it would be potentially complicated, potentially complex, and we were very honest with the Knox Forum and said, if we're going to do this together, you're going to have to help us with fundraising for the project. Bringing this many loans to the Isle of Man is complicated. It's logistically difficult. There's a lot of relationships to build along the way. So Chris stepped up to the mark beautifully with the help of the other directors of the Archibald Knox Forum, and it's happened, Chris. We did it.
It's happened. You better introduce yourself, Chris.
I'm Chris Hobdell, Managing Director of the Archibald Knox Forum, which is an educational charity.
What is it that is special or unique about Knox?
It's just his work. If you look at it, it touches your heart. it's very difficult to define. It's beautiful, but lots of other people's work are beautiful. But when I first saw his work in 2007, it just blew me away. And just the simplicity of the lines, the beauty of his watercolours. Yeah, you can't really explain it. And that's why people need to come along to the exhibition.
They do indeed. And it has to me, I think he has a sort of universal appeal.
It does indeed. His work is in museums all over the world now. And people all over the world appreciate exactly what he designed. Some people think he made it. He didn't make anything. He actually designed it. So I'd like to put in a big plug for the people who actually made it as well, the silversmiths, pewtersmiths, the jewellers, because they turned his designs into something that's wonderful.
And I think you mentioned there the silver work, the pewter work. People be familiar with his work with Liberty, of course, perhaps most famously. I didn't realise he'd designed pieces of furniture. There's a couple of pieces of furniture here as well.
Yes, there's 4 or 5 or 6 pieces of furniture which he did in the 1890s. And at the Sunnyside Studios with his friends. And he did so many different media and so many different things. It's incredible. I don't know of any designer who had the breadth and depth of Archibald Knox's work.
Was his talent appreciated, do you think, during his lifetime or after he'd actually, as is often the case, after he'd actually left this mortal coil?
It depends on who you would talk to. Obviously, Arthur Lazenby Liberty did recognise what a great designer he was, and that's why he used him exclusively for his Cymric and his Tudric ranges. And then if you ask the students who were at the Kingston School of Art, they thought he was a god, because the work he did, they just couldn't believe it, and they set up this guild after he left them in 1912, and it ran for 35 years. So they were very appreciative of what he did and how he taught. But the rest of the world didn't really know the man, because Liberty put their name on everything, not Knox's name. In the Isle of Man, he's been known very well as a watercolourist, and he's been known as a teacher. On the mainland, he's been known for somebody for Liberty, who did things for Liberty. But that was only 6 or 7 years of his life. And as I said before, the depth and breadth of what this man did, we've got a wonderful exhibition with 250 odd pieces in it. That represents 2 to 3% of his output. That's how phenomenal he was.
Obviously, we're here at the Manx Museum on the Isle of Man. Would there have been a Knox designer without the Isle of Man or his birthplace? Was it that inspirational for him, do you think?
Very much so. I mean, until 1880, there wasn't any art on this island at all. And Governor Locke and his wife set up the Douglas School of Art. And he was one of the first people to go in there in 1880. Now, without that, this was a very poor community. He was an engineer with his father, and it wasn't until he got this yearning, if you like, to go to the art school that he really came into his own and discovered art and designing and his love of things of art.
And I think the amazing thing for me, at least, is the fact that we've heard a little bit about his inspiration in his early days from Norse, and then moving into the Celtic designs and the whole Celtic revival and the space between the arts and crafts and where he fitted. But at the same time, he seems to have this deep relation with his sort of culture and the history. But all his pieces have this fantastically modernistic feel.
Yeah, lots of his pieces could have been made yesterday. And it's just phenomenal. That's why people should come along and look at it, because you can't just say he was following a Celtic tradition. You can't say he was just arts and crafts. You can't say he was Art Nouveau. He was actually a modernist. He said in 1913 that he was a modernist. And I think some of the pieces, especially the clocks, will blow people away when they see it.
Yeah, I would have one of the clocks. Just finally then, Katie, I know it's been a super busy time for you. You're modelling a piece of Knox this evening.
I am. Chris has very kindly lent me one of his piece from his collection, a Knox original, which I'm modelling very beautifully. You can buy it if you like, Howard, later.
If you could take one piece home, would it be the piece you're wearing? Would you have a clock? Would you have a piece of furniture, a watercolour?
I would have something out of the Wonder Room. There is the most beautiful opal necklace in there that, yeah, anyone would want to wear that. It's absolutely gorgeous. So, sorry, Chris, I'll take that one if you're offering.
Listen, it's a fantastic exhibition, super busy. We're going to wrap up now because I know we're going to get thrown out otherwise. Just remind us of how long the exhibition's running for.
So the exhibition is running until the 1st of March 2026. So you've got plenty of time to come and see it, yeah.
And it's stunning.
But
Thank you.
come early.
Come early indeed. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. I would indeed go early, particularly if you want to buy a small piece of Knox artwork for yourself. There are some on sale there. I confess I did. Not the ones costing tens of thousands of pounds, I'm afraid. One of the speakers during the evening was Dr. Stephen Martin from the USA, who delivered a series of Knox seminars over the weekend. That was last weekend, of course. He told the crowd assembled, for him, Knox was what he regarded as an avant-garde conservative.
There are lots of people in this room who know a great deal more about Knox than I do. But we all know pieces, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And what I would say is my expertise is these cabinets and the Wonder Room is Knox during the period of Liberty. And I've been embarrassed and humbled by the likes of Alan Kelly and Anthony and others Katie, who know, and certainly Chris, who know Knox as a Manxman. But what I wanted to share with what Knox is for me, Knox is an avant-garde conservative. That's what he is. What does that mean? That means that he created innovative designs within a very specific and traditional craftsmanship, inspired by Celtic and Norse art, certainly, incorporating traditional forms into something that was quite extraordinary. And you see that really in the Liberty work. In the early works that you see here, you can see more of the Norse influence, the early, but then when Knox gets rocking and rolling, then you see something quite different. So his avant-garde approach, I mean, he conserved the Manx heritage and he conserved what he knew to be the history of the evolution of his design period. But he also was remarkably modern. And what he did was, to some extent, and this is not a judgment, he freed us from Victorian decoration more than most people did. There were many great designers, but Knox was somebody who was very special, who put it into active reality with Liberty's help. So you and I could buy a cross clock for £3 and change, and we would be the most avant-garde people on the street. I bought a Knox clock for a great deal more than that when my son was born, and I have it in my office yet, though he has gone on to better things. Knox was a modernist with respect for the past, part of the broader movement between arts and crafts and Art Nouveau. Somebody was asking me today where I would locate him, and I would say Knox was not an arts and crafts designer in the sense of honest and clear craftsmanship. In fact, I'm not so sure how involved with craftsmanship he was. He was a great designer with a broad vision. And what he brought to the design process was an elegance of simplicity, sort of less is more in the best sense of the term. There are objects in some of these cabinets that could be designed tomorrow, and it takes your breath away, really. When I first encountered Knox's work in a used book, some long time ago, my head exploded, because I had never seen anything like it, and I wasn't asking for this, so I was grabbed and drawn and dragged, and here I am. His designs are great examples of avant-garde sparity when it comes to ornamentation. There is ornamentation. When you look at the objects, you see the entrelac designs, and sometimes he incorporates those into the structure of the object themselves. Great examples actually are the jewelry. So one of the questions I ask everybody is, what would you take home? And I would certainly take home some of the jewelry. That's three-dimensional calligraphy. That's what I think. And finally, there was subtle innovation. Knox breaks free at times, but only very subtly. Although, I'll tell you a story. So in the cabinet, there is a clock that came up for sale in Glasgow about 8 months ago, and I had never seen it. And my email exploded because people wanted to know, what is it? Is it real? And it is extraordinary. It's definitely Knox. It has the face of the clock is a face that he designed when at the Silver Studio. But the design is so hyper-modern that we just see that he was pushing the bounds. Did Knox know he was doing these things? I don't think he was thinking about it in the slightest. One thing I think about Knox was he was his own person, and he did what he did, and I'm not sure. I'm often asked, did he know Bailey Scott? Did he know Dresser? Anthony may know better. I'm not sure he paid much attention to anyone, which in its own right is a miracle. Sometimes I ask myself why he took himself to Selby, which I presume is a sort of idyllic spot, and designed thousands of designs without really talking to anybody in particular. Yes, he may have gotten the Studio magazine, but he was an original. So in short, when I say he was an avant-garde conservative, he was a paradox. But the paradox was joined in him as he designed. And when you actually see the designs, I mean, when you look at the two-dimensional designs, you can scarcely believe that they become things, but they do. And I want to thank everybody, Katie especially, and Chris. This is an extraordinary achievement, long overdue. Thank you.
It certainly is an extraordinary achievement. It's a credit to all involved. Do go along at some stage. Plenty of time, happily, if you're not in the market, to get a bit of Knox artwork yourself. I'm sure that will soon disappear. But the exhibition itself runs until the 1st of March next year.
Spotlight, brought to you by the Isle of Man Arts Council.
Classic artwork to classic music, or at least iconic music, which is being brought to the Isle of Man by the Arts Council in the form of the Untold Orchestra, a Manchester-based collective of professional musicians who will be performing 3 concerts on the island in their Icons series, celebrating the music of Amy Winehouse, Disney, and uniquely for the Isle of Man, the Bee Gees. Arts Project Officer at the Arts Council, Susie Walker, and Callum Rowe, the arts graduate intern, dropped by to tell me more.
And I'm feeling good.
We are Untold Orchestra. We're a Manchester organisation reimagining what an orchestra does and who it's for. We believe that orchestras should be uplifting communities and telling stories untold. We curate projects that celebrate...
If you don't know already, the Isle of Man Arts Council is 60 this year, so it's been 60 years of arts creativity and participation for everyone through the funding that the Arts Council gives to the Isle of Man. And as part of that celebration this year, they have chosen to bring over the Untold Orchestra from Manchester to play 3 really cool gigs on the Isle of Man.
So tell us a little bit more about I've heard of the Untold Orchestra. I've never seen them play. They've got a cracking reputation, and they sort of started out as a collective of top-ranked musicians.
The Untold Orchestra, they're all Manchester-based. Every musician playing with them works as part of the whole nighttime economy in Manchester. A lot of the time they'll be playing venues like Albert Schloss, Revs Cuba, stuff like that down in Deansgate. Some of them all have their own different kind of side projects they work with. I know for a fact that a couple of the members are also graduates of the Royal Northern College of Music, which is one of the world's top 5 conservatoires, and I also attended.
So the standard we know is going to be a very high. Doing 3 groups, and this is their Icon series, so this is where they're playing the music of musical icons.
Yes, so they do. They're an orchestra, so 20 of them are coming over on the steam packet and flying with Loganair, and they're coming over with their to do an orchestral rendition featuring guest vocalists. So bringing all sorts of instruments that you'd expect to see in an orchestra and reimagining some of the songs that you know really well from Disney and the Bee Gees and Amy Winehouse. So some 3 really different variety special gigs.
So it starts off then with Amy Winehouse. That's down at the Erin Arts Centre. I was going to say that's super popular. I think that might have even sold out already, has it?
Yes, it went like hotcakes.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
So I'm afraid you're already too late for that one if you haven't actually been keeping your eye open on social media with the Arts Council and down at the Erin Arts Centre at Pip there. Amy Winehouse down there on the 8th of May. Still space for the other 2 though. So Disney, that's got to be great. I mean, doing all the Disney classics.
Yeah, amazing. And the variety of classics that are in the Disney repertoire broad and really popular. So we hope everyone will get on board with coming to see this orchestrated rendition of Disney at the Centenary Centre on Friday. It should be a really fun night, and what a lovely venue. And I think an orchestra in there will just absolutely sing and make that venue, the roof, come off.
It's brilliant. And doing numbers from, I think they're listening to The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and goodness knows how many more. So it's going to be something, I suppose that's a very much family orientated one. That's sort of music for all, really.
Yeah, I suppose it's music for all, with obviously Disney films being very kind of family oriented in the first place, but it is still going to be a full performance, a full gig. So it's going to be something you can definitely bring your kids to, but it's not specifically for children.
Okie dokie. And then the one after that we have, this has got a fantastic Manx link, because this is concluding the series with the music of the Bee Gees at Peel Cathedral, nonetheless. Yeah. What a cracking setting for it.
This one's really special because the Isle of Man Arts Council have actually commissioned them to do the music of the Bee Gees. They don't have this in their repertoire normally. So
this is unique.
Unique, and premiered on the Isle of Man, which is obviously, home of the Bee Gees. A really exciting venue that has had, had the Moon this year, and then we're supporting it with this gig, which should be fabulous in that space.
And so many good sort of tracks from I don't know, again, they list Staying Alive, How Deep Is Your Love, Night Fever. I'm hoping they might do Jive Talking, because that's always a favourite of mine. But it'd be interesting to see, and I think obviously anyone with a musical bent will be interested to see or just hear the orchestral arrangements rather than just the usual arrangements that the Bee Gees might have done, I suppose, Karen.
It would be really interesting. I mean, the Bee Gees, as a group anyway, such great songwriting, great part arrangement. I think hearing that with full strings, everything, it's just going to be mega. And the great thing about Untold as well is that, they're an orchestra, but they've still got a full rhythm section. So they've still got electric guitar, bass, drums, keyboards as well. So I think bringing all these disco tunes to life will just be mega.
It sounds like it's going to be a cracking setup. I was just looking at a bit of a history, and like I said, they did get together, and they're now, I think, run as a charity, as I understand, the actual orchestra. So they're very much sort of community. There's a lot of community spirit within the orchestra of actually engaging with lots of different groups and engaging with communities. Yeah,
and that was one of the really the things that really stood out to the Arts Council when they were looking to bring over an act, was that community. Musicians coming from a community, building those links with such a fabulous city of Manchester, and also the education programme that they can bring alongside them. So we are looking to commission them to do a choir piece that we will hopefully do something with, but we're still working on.
Great. Will that be later this year?
Well, yeah, keep your eyes
open. Okay, if people are interested, want to go along, as we said, sadly, you're too late for Amy Winehouse. That is sold out already. The others going like hotcakes. But if people do want to get in before it's too late, where's the best place?
And the best place is the Isle of Man Arts Council website, which is iomarts.com, and there's a big banner on the top. Click there for tickets and snap them up before they're gone.
Sounds good, doesn't it? I might try for that Bee Gees special if I can at the Cathedral. Check them out, and don't forget to check out what the Arts Council is up to, of course, for their 60th anniversary year celebrations via their website. Last, but by no means least this evening, the 7th Manx Youth Bard. Installed in the role a week or two back, I couldn't get down on the evening, sadly. I was already out elsewhere. But at the end of the evening, it was Ellie Reynolds, a 16-year-old student from QE2 High School, who took the coveted position of 7th Manx Youth Bard. She called by in the studios to tell me more.
Well, my English literature teacher mentioned it to the English class and said, if anyone wants to enter for this, then you can. And I figured, what have I got to lose? So I chose some of my poems that I'd already written and sent them in. I think I sent them in like the week of the deadline. And then I got an email back and it was like, you're through to the final. And I did not expect that at all. Like, I really didn't expect anything from it. So I was very surprised.
How long have you been writing poetry?
Probably, I was going through all my poems yesterday, and probably about 2 years now.
Okay. And what sort of started you off?
I'd been going through a really hard time with my mental health, and I had a friendship that wasn't great, and I wrote about that a lot in my poetry. It was very healthy outlet for me to use. But I think the real inspiration, as I don't know, cliche as this might be, was probably Taylor Swift. Because in probably 3 years ago now, I would sit and I would analyse her lyrics like they were poetry. Because they are, like, you could argue her lyrics are poetry, but she definitely, like, set something off in me that then led me to write my own poems.
So that's interesting. So even at quite a young age, you find this of the process of writing poetry sort of quite cathartic. You use it as a way of sort of getting over things.
Yeah, definitely.
And then over the years you've been writing now, 2 or 3 years, not that long, but obviously enough time to sort of get some experience and write quite a few poems, I dare say. Do you think your poetry has developed since you started writing?
Definitely. I think the things I write about have changed as well, thankfully. They're not all depressing and sad now, which is definitely good for publishing poems and stuff and sharing them, because I don't want to share really depressing things all the time. But I do think that the way I use language has definitely improved, and like reading back my old stuff, I'm just like, what was I doing here? Whereas reading the newer things, I'm experimenting a lot more now, using different like structural techniques, which is really fun.
Okay. And when you say that's changed, what you're writing about's changed, what's your inspiration now for your current or most recent poetry?
I'd say like just like people in general. One of my favourite poems I've written, I wrote on a bus. I was just on the way back from a hospital appointment, and there was just lots of people on the bus, and I just like I like to write about like really philosophical things, very like Dickinson-esque. But I was like sat on this bus and I was just thinking, everybody on here has like lived different lives and they've all like done something, and I just think that's so magical. So I love to write about people and like almost like people watching, and what I think people have done. But at the moment I'm doing like it's National Poetry Month this month, I believe, and there's like a daily poetry challenge I'm doing, so that's all prompt based, which is a challenge because I'm not used to being told what to write. Usually I'll just get some inspiration and write, but that's, at the moment, it's been very much, they'll say, you know, why do you write poetry, or why, like, the prompt yesterday was something like, why wouldn't you be a painting, which was so obscure, but I've been doing things like that as well, just really random prompts, inspiration things, yeah.
And how do you feel about sharing your poetry? Because as you say, particularly when you started off, as you said there, it was very personal, it was from within, it was perhaps, you know, things which only you would know, and you're writing about it as a way of release, perhaps. Are you happy if other people read those poems?
At the start, it was very hard. My dad didn't even know I wrote poetry. I came home and I went to my mum and my dad. I said, I've got through to the Poetry Bard final, and my dad goes, you write poetry? Like, and I'm really close with my dad, so you know, I think most people would think he'd know that, but he didn't. But it was definitely very hard to share at the beginning, because they are quite personal. But I'm kind of trying to own it and kind of use the kind of status, you could say, that I've been given to be a bit of an advocate for mental health and for using poetry to aid in mental health, because it's something that's very close to me, mental health. Like, it's something I've struggled with for a long time.
And you often hear people saying that they find poetry a wonderful outlet and a great aid to, as you say, to their mental health. Yeah,
it's definitely something that I like to advocate in my poems and stuff.
What an eloquent young woman. Puts me and a lot of the rest of us to shame. We'll be hearing a little more from Ellie and that favourite poem she referred to, penned on the bus, next week. And you'd be pleased to hear Ellie's agreed to record a poem every month for us, schoolwork and exams allowing, during her bardic year. We look forward to that, and of course we'll catch up with Ellie a little later in the year to see how she's getting on. That's about it for now. I'll be back next week when we'll be hearing about this year's Isle of Man Art Society Easter Art Exhibition, among other joys. See you then. Whatever you're doing, be creative about it. Himo.